What was your goal when you were younger in jiu-jitsu?
I think my mindset has always been self-defense oriented. It wasn't about entering tournaments, and it certainly wasn't, especially back then, about making a name for yourself in jiu-jitsu, because, you know, back then you're unique in that first American to get a black belt from Gracie Baja, but you committed your life to jiu-jitsu early, right? But I think for most of us that started when we started in the 90s or early 2000s, I think the feeling was, this is great, this is something I want to learn, but of course I'm not going to go be a jiu-jitsu fighter. That's for the Brazilians, that's for the guys that, you know, started when they were very young, back in Rio or wherever.
Right.
So my goal has always been, I want to learn to be proficient in a self-defense situation.
Knowing how to fight.
Knowing how to fight, and it doesn't mean that you have to win or be able to win or feel like you could win every fight. It's for me, was the idea that no matter what the situation is, I can survive and look for an opportunity to win, but I can at least survive. And survive for a long time or outlast the opponent. And I think, which UFC was it when Hoist beat Dan Severn? Was
The
it
fourth.
Four?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, 15 minutes, right? He's on the bottom.
Yeah.
Even the announcers, they didn't understand what was going on.
Exactly.
They're like, oh, he's losing. Oh, my God, he's
Right.
losing. And then all of a sudden he triangle choked him.
Right. Now we all watch it and go, oh, it was a triangle choke, right? How did he not know that was a triangle choke? But yeah, so I think the first couple of UFCs, it was almost like it was too easy for Hoist. And then when I watched that fight between Hoist and Dan Severn, what I observed was, okay, he's clearly not able to do anything to this bigger guy who obviously knows how to grapple. But then to be able to pull out that submission at the end, I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, what a perfect just story, right, with Royce Gracie and the UFC and just the time of martial arts, right, in the world.
Yeah.
And how the striking was just so dominant
and then the sport or the world's perception of jiu-jitsu has evolved over time, right? So initially, and this is the American perspective, because the Brazilians had Vale Tudo and other things from an earlier period, but for those that got introduced to BJJ by watching UFC and then Pride and then the other platforms, initially it was this idea of a guy who grew up in the storied Brazilian family who was taught this from birth, and regardless of, you know, size, didn't seem like a very athletic guy. He was able to use family secrets to beat these bigger, more aggressive guys. And then you started to see different representatives of BJJ, right? Like Renzo looked and moved in a much more athletic way, much more aggressive way. And then, you know, guys like Vitor Belfort.
Yeah, the Carlson Gracie
Carlson
students.
Gracie guys, right? And then you saw a more aggressive form of BJJ. So that further expanded our understanding and appreciation of jiu-jitsu. And then you had guys like Sakuraba come in.
I got a couple of dolls up here.
Yeah.
I had to get them these.
Yeah.
a couple of guys gave them.
and then you started to realize that it's not just the Brazilian lineage. There's a convergence here. There's a relationship to other forms of grappling and submission grappling arts. So then I think, I don't know when that was, maybe early to mid 2000s, when people started to appreciate catch wrestling, sambo, leg locks, right? And then you had the strikers with a jiu-jitsu or grappling background, like Anderson Silva.
Right. Yeah, early, I think like 2002, 2003, leg locks started to really come in to play. Before that, like in the 90s and even like 2000, people would boo actually at jiu-jitsu tournaments
That's
if you
right.
tried to do leg locks.
Yeah, yeah, because it was much more structured in terms of position, and then attack back to a neutral position, and then a defensive position. And I still think that way. And I think it served me pretty well for my own jiu-jitsu, and that is when I was taught, it's, there's a hierarchy, back, mount, side, guard, and then in reverse, right?
I think that's correct. I think that's still correct.
Right. And sometimes what I see in younger jiu-jitsu practitioners is it's much more fluid. It's like, okay, I'm not going to fight that hard. You pass my guard, I'll do something else to recover or score a point. When I was coming up, the idea of letting someone pass your guard that was a defeat. It's like letting an intruder into your home, right? So I still think in that kind of regimented way is if someone's on my back, I got to get him off my back. He can take mount, but I want to get to a neutral, ultimately guard position before I can start attacking again. Leg locks have changed that paradigm, because what's exciting and dangerous about leg locks is you're both concurrently in an attack position and a defensive position, right? A submission can happen at any moment.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to pass the guard. You can submit somebody.